Hey, and welcome to this week's Books Crypto Club on Zoom catch-up. If you enjoy what you're watching and listening, then don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click the like, click that bell so you get reminders and so on, and make some comments as well. We're going to be talking about whatever. We don't have a fixed agenda as such, usually anything to do with crypto, blockchain, DeFi, NFTs. Let's see what goes on, and let's see who's coming into the room today. Good afternoon, John. And I get to say those immortal words straight away. John, you're on mute. And hey, Chris.
Hi there, Gary. Good to see you.
Good evening. Got a couple of new faces today as well. So a few more people.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
I'll put the word out quickly with a couple of people, so we'll see if a few more join anyway.
Brilliant.
And John, you're still on mute today?
Hello.
Hey. We can hear you now.
Brilliant. Oh, I always have so much trouble with this on a Sunday. The technology beats me.
It's the price of it. And hey, Bjorn, good of you to join us today. And Bjorn staying on mute. Tino?
No, I'm trying to. Sorry. Hey, guys. I was still playing with my Zoom.
Hey, no problem. And Tino, hello. Good of you to join us today. Tino's still connecting at the moment. Mark, hello.
Hello, good to see you again.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, what's everyone thinks happening in the crypto world this week? It's been quite an exciting ride. It's been interesting watching other people's comments. You can tell the people who are new to this because they're all panicking about the explosive corrections of 10 and 20% upwards and downwards. Anyone had any thoughts or any experiences this week?
It's about par for the course, isn't it, with crypto?
Yeah.
I've had 3 years to get used to this, or over 3 years.
Yes.
The first few times it happens, you think, what the heck's going on? And then after a while, you just...
Yeah.
It did drop a bit further than I thought it might, but it's pulling back okay.
Well, I think Bitcoin today dropped below the 50-day moving average.
Yeah.
Which it's not done for quite some time. In fact, quite possibly several years. But these things happen, you know.
I had read somewhere that there was a problem with some nodes or some pools that happened kind of late last night, early this morning UK time, which caused the tremors in the market.
Yeah, I think it was something. Some Chinese miners have gone offline, and I think that ties in. And they reckon that means there's been a drop of something like 40% of the hash rate, which is quite considerable.
Hey.
Hey, Bjorn.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were trying to say something. Go on, Mark.
Yeah, and there was a couple of hours where there was not a confirmed hash rate or something like that. I didn't quite understand exactly what that meant.
What was it that they said?
That there was a couple of hours where there was no confirmed hash rate, or the hash was lower or something like that. I'd read it somewhere, but I didn't quite pick up exactly on it. But I don't understand exactly what the problem was, all in all.
Okay, I know certainly the hash rate dropped down, but the way the protocol's designed, it should be able to adjust for that.
Mm.
So it takes a little while to adjust, but it should have all come out okay together. But again, it's one of these things where people are always saying, oh, what caused this price to go up or what caused it to go down? It was probably the hash rate that has affected things in some way, but you know, there's been loads of other news about other things happening that could have affected it, so don't really know. Looks like Tino's still trying to connect in there at the moment. I'm trying to see if anyone else is joining us today. Bear with me. Bjorn, hey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think we spoke a long time ago about starting an ICO, if you remember. So I'm more from the not from the investment side of things, but more on building on the chain.
Okay.
Still working on this. However, back then decided there was too much fuss in the ICO market, I think, and too much or too many really wonky projects. So what I did was we pulled back and we started. However, we first started the software side of things, the usability, the use cases, and stuff like that. And well, let's see, just 1 month, no, well, October, not last year, but the year before, we incorporated.
Okay.
With our focus on, yeah, as we in the Netherlands call it, hospitality industry, which was a really, really bad choice because we didn't expect Corona to lock down all hospitality about 3 months later. We have some customers up and running. We have some projects up and running with the software. We're still thinking about adding our own coin into it. However, what we always said was, look, we want a coin with a use case right away. So first create a use case, first create a market, then create a coin.
Okay.
So this is what we did. And now recently, it became interesting to look into the crypto part again. Noticing all of a sudden it exploding. And well, today then crashing a bit, but which was was just reasonable. I mean, it was going up and up and up all the time. So of course it's dropping down again. So this is why I'm here, and this is why I started joining the group again, reading on Telegram, and noticing, hey, you have a meeting today, so why not join?
Cool.
Let's see what you guys are talking about.
That's great. And it's interesting that one of the things you find, you mentioned the ICO kind of craze, is that there was after ICOs died away a little bit, there was the whole DeFi craze, and now there's the NFT craze. So it's whichever craze you want to join in with, really. It's like all waves of things. So
exactly. And look, I believe that NFT, you have now the IDO and you have the IFO and the everything IFO, everything with I, put a random letter in between and an O.
Yep.
What still amazes me is how people can just write a piece of paper, like 4 A4s. Yeah. Oh, this is my idea, and they raise millions. Yeah, and this is still, I think, a bit disturbing and something that is really sad for the market. There should be something behind it sometimes. I mean, nowadays it's even, hey, my team is anonymous because this is an anonymous market. The other day, a friend of mine told me, I don't know if you saw about the project, but it was the Spider-Man project or some, don't quote me on that, but something like that, Marvel names. And the people said like, hey, are you sure that you can use these names? Yeah, I'm sure. So it was invested a total of 400,000 in BNB.
Okay.
And that was before the rise even. So at that time, the BNB was $100. So this guy is really laughing his socks off because at the night, this was an IDO. And at night he posted, hey guys, thanks for the new Mercedes. But people still fell for it. I got no clue how, but they say like, yeah, their excuse is gamble hard. If I put in $500, $1,000, and it's very risky, I know this, but maybe I go to the moon, or maybe somebody else gets a new Mercedes. And it's funny to see that this attitude is still in the market. However, on the other side, I see that there is also a big group of people that really became more professional investors. Yeah. So do their due diligence and stuff like that. And this gives me a better feeling about this whole market also, because, well, I don't know if you followed the Boson ICO.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't like the auction method, right? Because everybody knows it gets overpriced and it crashes right away. That said, I think the auction was still going on, and you saw the first people like 3 years ago already got when moon, right? And that's not the people that you want as an investor. At least I don't. If you want a solid company, you don't want them behind you or in your organization.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That people get mixed up between people who are doing pure play speculation. Yeah. It's just I'll put money on something because it's going to go increase in price
Mhm.
versus potential investors. But I've seen it in some of the other ICOs over the last couple of years, and it's quite funny how emotional some of the people who've put money in get, because they're saying, "Oh, we've invested in your product, we've invested in your company." They haven't. It's a little bit like buying a can of Coke and
Yeah.
thinking that that means you've invested in Coca-Cola.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
And they expect that the money still goes through the roof within a few, well, after ICO, right? As soon as the token or the ICO is over, they expect, hey, it triples in value.
Yep.
But on average, they all crash, right?
Yeah.
They all go, or crash, but at least go half or something like that, which also, this is something I'm still struggling with, that once there is a moment where we are talking to investors at the moment, but personally, right, in person and really explaining them the system and stuff like that. But it still makes me worried about how these people think. I have quite some relatives and friends also that act this way. And yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah.
I think. And the same with the NFT stuff. I mean, be honest, the prices that are being paid for some of the things, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing it at the moment because I'm involved in a few NFT groups, and some of the feedback from people already about, hey, how do I keep hold of my original image or whatever? And it's like, look, that's not what you've bought. You've bought a token that says you are the original purchaser. You've not bought a token that gives you exclusive access. And there will be tokens that are designed that way. I'm looking at some stuff at the moment about changing some of the features of an NFT such that maybe you will actually need it to grant access to something. So a bit like having a password to it, which will change the market. But at the moment, if you actually look at the code behind an NFT, it's a dozen lines of code. There's very little indeed, sometimes less. And people just don't realize what it is they're actually buying. They think they're buying the assets or the underlying thing, and they're not. They're just buying a token that points to it. But maybe, because some of them aren't even like that. So we'll see where that goes.
Well, I was still looking into, sorry, somebody else was...
I was just going to bring Georgina in because I noticed she joined us as well. Good evening, Georgina.
Good evening.
Yeah.
I will catch up with you. I haven't quite caught up with you yet, I don't think.
Okay. It's been an exciting week in the world of crypto. So, but,
yeah, I must admit this morning it's like, oh my God, matchstick eyes and actually just, watching all these coins plummet and thinking, oh good, I can buy that one, I can buy that one, I can buy that one, I can buy that one. Waiting for the dip. But of course it takes brain power, and my brain has definitely been fried today. So.
Okay. Well, it was interesting. I was looking at Bitcoin earlier on, and I think it's dropped to 55K or something. And it looks quite significant. But then when you look back on a chart on its past performance, it's not seen prices that low since, the 3rd of this month.
Exactly. It is not that impressive.
It is crazy in this space. And I guess a bit, Bjorn, have you been into the crypto space for a while then? If you're talking about ICOs in 2017, I guess you were.
Yeah. Well, I have been following it, of course, off and on. But what I notice is just a few things. And in all fairness, I do it the same way. I make the same mistake that people are looking on daily charts. And stuff, so it looks like really impressive, but exactly as you said, the last time it was in 55, it's not even 2 weeks ago, so it's not that significant if you think about it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's if you look at on long term and on a you need to look from a higher perspective, right? High level perspective, like on weeks, like you would do in stock trading.
Yeah, it was interesting. I got asked for a quote for, I think it was a big magazine recently, about there's been a big price correction on something, and it was like 20%. And they were talking about the collapse of the crypto market. It's like that's not a collapse. That's that's just one day's correction.
Exactly. Sometimes, yeah. No, agreed. Yeah. But this still is for me also pretty mind-boggling. And what I have the most problem with to understand, or what is the hardest for me, is what is triggering people to buy, and this is Instagram and Twitter, basically. But also look at the thing that happened to Game Shop. It was a Game Shop.
A game shop, yeah.
Yeah, it was mental.
Yeah, but this is a whole thing though. A lot of investments, whether it's in crypto or traditional, is not necessarily rational anyway.
Exactly.
And then you look at stuff, you look at traditional financial services, you've probably seen HSBC are now refusing to deal in shares in MicroStrategy because MicroStrategy have got a reasonable holding of Bitcoin, and HSBC is saying, well, that's exposing us unnecessarily. Well, you've now had an IPO of Coinbase a few days ago.
Correct.
Which was, what was it, but 100 and something billion, I think it was. And it means HSBC won't deal in their shares because it's a crypto-related company. You had the announcement the other day from big insurance company AXA, who are now indirectly dealing in crypto, admittedly they're taken via a payment service provider. But again, they're associating themselves with crypto. So how on earth can HSBC say, we don't want to deal in anything in this space?
That is pretty painful. Yeah, HSBC is not big over here, right? So you don't hear anything about it over here. It's really England and India. But
I was going to say it's strange though, because worldwide, in comparison, Barclays Bank, the market cap is about 32 billion. HSBC is just over double that. I think it's 80-something billion. So HSBC globally is a major player indeed.
True. Yeah.
But you find that most of the Western banks don't have representation in India. They normally do it through a rebrand in some way. I don't know whether it's RBI don't like it or something.
I don't know for sure, to be honest. I know a few people that work for RBI. And they are active in the Netherlands, but really in the background. I don't know. No normal user basically knows them. And same for Barclays and same for HSBC. Yeah, well, HSBC they know from Formula One, right? They sponsor it, I think. Yeah. Or some sport events. But over here you don't see them, so that doesn't have a big impact, except in the crypto world.
Whereabouts is that then?
Sorry, I live in the Netherlands.
Okay, well, you were saying it's in India that they don't have much representation.
No, they do. Sorry, HSBC is a lot in India. Sorry, no, it's pretty big there.
Okay, right. I was going to say I was getting confused for a moment because I know I did a hackathon at Barclays Rise in Mumbai. But there aren't really any Barclays branches there, kind of thing. It's quite strange. So, interesting. Still looks like Tino's still trying to connect with us. So, Mark, you've been nodding a little bit. What's your thinking of what's been happening during the week?
I've kept my eye quite close on what's happened to like Litecoin and Ethereum, and it's I've actually had my eye on Litecoin for quite a few years now. And it's certainly been quite interesting to see, especially this weekend, what has held its value and what hasn't held its value. And on my watch list is Dogecoin, and Dogecoin has it's still in the green actually this weekend, which is surprising considering everything else has gone red.
Yeah, I think Dogecoin sums up everything about crypto. Where people talk about, oh, well, you need to read the white paper, you need to think about what the coin is about, you need to look at the team, all this kind of stuff. If you use those principles, no one would go near Dogecoin because it's just there's no reason for it. But it's now got a market capitalization greater than Barclays Bank. So
it's crazy.
It goes to show, ultimately, I keep describing the whole crypto market, and in fact, financial world wider, there's no rationale behind what people do when they put money into some of this stuff. There's just no justification, but that doesn't stop people from doing it. And if enough people keep doing it, and enough people keep noticing that people are doing it, then you've got a rising market or a growing market.
Do you think this is, so sometimes this gives me the feeling there is these big, as they are called, whales, basically playing the market, right? There is too many people, I think, and I'm part of multiple of these groups, that are just looking at TAs, technical analysis, and in all fairness, if you are a massive whale, it's relatively easy to manipulate some of the coins, their TAs, which triggers other people to to jump on board as well and then drop the market again.
Yep.
I mean, I think there is in crypto still a lot of manipulation, which I think is really contradictory to what a lot of people are telling, that they go in crypto because, oh, it cannot be manipulated, it's democratic, blah, blah, blah. The whole, I think this is what messes with my mind a lot. The way how people talk about crypto and the things you see, which is exactly the opposite. Because in all fairness, let's say, that the market is 2 billion at the moment, I think, or what is it? Am I
2 trillion.
2 trillion, sorry. Nobody would have believed that 5 years ago. Yeah. And the other end, it's not that much yet. Still not.
Yeah.
It's still easy. Not really easy, of course. I cannot do it, unfortunately, but it is relatively easy to manipulate it if you are a big kahuna, a big whale.
Yeah, I agree. And this is the really sad thing. I think you're right. But the purists talking about crypto and the rationale behind it and how it's going to change the world and make things all equal and that. But when you look at it, when you look at it, the whole argument about, oh, it's decentralized, and then you realize actually most people go through a big exchange like Binance or Coinbase,
Exactly.
which means it's not decentralized. It's distributed. Well, most of the hash power, as we discovered, is in China.
Yeah.
That's not very distributed. Is it a store of value? Well, it is when the price is going up, but when the price is coming down, it's not. Is it, in Bitcoin's case, is it a means of exchange? Well, not really. That's where Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash are coming in. They are more. So basically, if you go through all of the arguments for Bitcoin in particular, you destroy each of them with how it's actually being used.
Exactly.
But it is being used. That's why I find it funny as well. People talk about fundamental analysis and technical analysis, and I keep saying to them, fundamental analysis, do it for stocks and shares. The fundamental analysis is really easy in crypto. The answer is zero. There is no fundamental behind it.
Oh, correct. Yeah, this is
But I guess on the
analysis works.
On the technical side, if everyone's using the same methodology, then if everyone's doing the EMAs, waiting for it to get to the 50-day moving average, and then if they're all using the fib retracements, then that naturally will.
Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Those are the words I was looking for. Yeah.
It's basically because everybody's yelling the same thing, it is true. No, it's still not true, people, right? But everybody's just, if everybody here says 1 + 1 is 4, then within this group, we can say, yeah, that's true. But it's still 1 + 1 is still 2, unfortunately, or fortunately.
But this thing, you're both exactly right, that technical analysis works. Not because of how it works in stocks and shares, which is where it is actually looking at the valuations and everything. It's because you use technical analysis to predict what everyone else in the market's doing.
If we all make the same analysis.
Exactly, and it works because of that. I see Hussein's joining us and he's smiling already. He's sitting outdoors.
In the sun. That looks pretty good.
Hello, chaps. How you doing?
Thanks for joining us again. You made it.
Yeah, I did. I was a little bit busy early on today. What a bloodbath it was. But I think I was surprised how well Doge did under the conditions. Just picking up on the last piece of conversation that if I pick that up correctly, I 100% agree. It's a bit like Elliott wave theory.
Yep.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because everyone follows it.
Exactly. And this is...
Go on, Bjorn.
Well, this is what scares me a bit because there's enough people knowing this, realizing this, but there is also a few big whales that, of course, can anticipate on this really easy then by manipulating the numbers in such a way that they can actually, what's it called? Not control, well, control in what direction this TA is going.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and this is what you're seeing. And on the other hand, this is what really 2-3 years ago, what was really bugging me, and I was in multiple crypto groups where people were doing all these CAs, and I was the guy telling them, like, guys, this is not true what you're doing. I actually got kicked out of multiple groups, yeah, because I didn't understand. Oh, sorry. Is my microphone now muted or not? Oh no, that was something else.
Okay. Yep.
Because I did not understand how it works, right? And then I said, okay, look, I need to step away from this market. In the past, I had 3 companies or 4 companies invested. 3 of them were very successful, one not so, unfortunately. So but I do understand a bit how you do investments, why you do investments, based on what you do investments. And this was not it, right? And now this time I came back to the crypto market, basically understanding and more going with the flow was a lot better also for my crypto portfolio, to be honest. Because before I was in Ripple where everybody was yelling, yeah, Ripple, no, that's government owned and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, yeah, okay, sell it. Well, now you see, it would have been a very good investment. And stuff like that. And now but still it's confusing. It's really confusing how to reach people in this way if you don't believe in that.
It's only confusing if people think that logic and rational thinking is involved.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And it's not, crypto is not alone in this space. There's many other industries as well. As soon as you involve human beings, emotion comes in and irrationality comes in. I use it time after time. I'm about to get involved in what could become a very big project around sport, and it's to do with football and golf and cricket and any of these kind of things. And I have to explain to the team, look, I've got no interest in traditional sport. I don't understand why it is people travel around the country spending £100 to go and watch a group of other people kicking a ball. You know, you pay £100 for a ticket and then you don't get to kick the ball yourself. You know, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
It's irrational, but it's tribal. People love it. 1,000 people do it. And crypto's the same in some ways. So as Hussein says, you know, Dogecoin, there's no rationality behind that as a cryptocurrency. It fulfills no function, purpose. It's got no novelty. It's got no unique features to it. But if enough people particularly want to buy it, it's like having the Pokemon whatever card. It happens, kind of thing. And Ripple, as you say, Ripple. It does it matter whether it's heavily influenced by a group of bankers or not? If you're only interested in, if I buy at 120, is it going to go to 140? No. So yeah, we'll see where it goes anyway.
I think we've actually got to switch the logic around. There is a logic, I think, and I think that I mean, I know that from my own personal viewpoint about what my goals and objectives are, I've got my own logic. I've got my own strategy, which is logical to me. And reading the markets, then that makes sense. But I think that where Doge comes in, I mean, from judging by the conversations, I think that there's a huge respect for its authenticity. It's not trying to be clever. It's not trying to be, super efficient and coming out with all this sales blurb of this feature and this functionality and that functionality. It is what it is. And I think that people are buying into that. They're buying into the Doge tribe rather than actually buying a product as such. And it's a bit like what you were saying about, buying a can of Coke doesn't buy you shares in the company, in Coca-Cola as the company. It's a bit like Doge is that crowd going to the rugby match and being a part of that gang.
Yep.
And I think that that is a really significant thing. And as far as the functionality of crypto, I agree that there's a lot of coins, they don't have a purpose per se. They don't have a value per se, even though the websites say they do and they're trying to achieve certain goals, because, you know, the trading is very different from the functionality of the coin itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is going to be a level of maturity, and it's probably going to happen when the volatility becomes much less. Therefore, it doesn't have the attraction for the traders and the people who are benefiting from the losses and the gains, the peaks and the troughs, and the lovely, you know, the bloodbath that we had like today, versus Dogecoin doing the lovely, you know, doing the rocket to the moon because Elon Musk has tweeted a thing about Doge barking the moon or whatever.
Yep.
That functionality, it's like you've got power, which is about being a token, is a means of exchange for people sharing green energy. You've got coins which are trying to reach people who are the unbanked, that they are, you know, they could be in the deserts in the middle of Africa where they have no, you know, societal infrastructure, where there is a building where there's a bank, but they can still have a means of trading and transacting because they have a mobile phone. So that functionality, I think, is going to come. And our emphasis, how we view these coins, I think is going to shift dramatically over the next 10, 20 years. I think it's going to be enormous, the impact that it's going to have.
I hope you're right, but I think for now, there is such massive opportunism in place. And for those who know how to play it right, there are immense opportunities to make a killing or be killed. You know, it comes down to, and this is where, again, you look at people who are trading at the moment, 80% of them lose, but the 80% know that 20% win and always have a plan that they'll come back and it'll be next week, they'll be part of the 20%. That's just natural, you know, greed in people. But I agree with Georgina that I think it'll be great when we get more people who actually invest in the proposition and what it's intended to do. And I used to like it when I went to some of the conferences in London where the real crypto evangelists, you know, the Stefan Tual and Vitalik and Gavin and that they were all saying, like, don't invest in this because the price is going up. Invest in this because what it provides, you know, and the whole, whether the platform delivers something or it provides enablement, that's definitely the way forwards. And yeah, maybe as the speculators get less interested and then move on to something else, you know, maybe nifty art or whatever, then we'll see the crypto market settle down a bit.
I think we've already seen, I think we've already seen a cycle of that. It's like, you know, when you look at how 2017, there was that massive influx of people launching the ICOs, and exactly what Bjorn was saying earlier about, you know, what is the substance behind this? It's like you haven't got a visible team, the website's poor, they've got typos, there's no technical expertise backing the project. And it's a balance between people, you know, just throwing up a 4-page white paper and taking a gamble and go, ha, 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 we've just made $15 million, whatever. And people believing that. And then, you know, but actually as the audience becomes more educated and much more savvy, they are learning what are the signs and the signals to actually differentiate between a project that's going to stand the test of time and those that are not. And having been through, you know, watching the cycle and watching, you know, how coins have come and gone in the last 4 or 5 years has been, oh my God, it's been so educational. And you begin to, I certainly find that you begin to get an intuitive feel for what actually stacks up, because there are some coins that you think, okay, logically that should be good, but my gut is saying stay well away. And you can't necessarily justify it, but sometime down the line I can pretty well guarantee that there'll be something that will come out. It may be that the directors of the project don't share the same values, that they don't have the same ethos as I want to, that I believe in, and therefore I wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. But I think that comes with the maturity of the market. This is still very much Wild West, and it is a case of it's shootouts and muggings and all sorts. The highwaymen are out there in abundance, and we as the general public have to educate ourselves, and the onus is on us to educate ourselves. And I think that is another shift in the culture away from, we're not depending on the banks and the stock traders, the investors, the people who are so-called experts to actually do things for us. We're having to become very savvy as to what the markets are doing. Yeah. So I think it all plays a part.
It's a matter of how you work that out, though. I mean, my favorite all-time project has still got to be Ponzi coin. Where Ponzi coin, its white paper said, the purpose of this project is you buy coins, and if you buy enough of them, you get to choose the color of the Lamborghini I'm going to buy. So it was out and out. This is just a complete whatever. They raised, I think it was $50,000 in the end. It wasn't much, and then they killed it off. They sent everyone their money back, and they said this was just for a bit of fun. It was almost like a form of art or an experiment. So that's really bizarre, because it means it was the first ever Ponzi scheme that wasn't a Ponzi scheme, and it was a non-fraudulent fraud. Because
maybe they can sell it now as an NFT then.
Don't suggest it.
They will make even more than the 50,000 somehow.
Yeah. But the NFTs, I'm seeing a repeat of that. I'm waiting for one of those to turn out to be a spoof. I think it was an Edward Snowden NFT came out today or something. $4.5 billion.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And some Dutch DJ, but he's gonna actually send over. So he did the NFT. You mentioned somewhere you don't have the rights to the product or something, but he mentioned something about an unreleased track. It's a DJ Don Diablo, and the guy that bought the NFT, he got a box with a USB stick with the actual unreleased song on it, and he's the only one. So that, I think, is I'm still trying to grasp it, but that, I think, is a pretty nice concept. So that you have the title basically in the blockchain, and maybe, for example, a lot of artwork is donated to a museum. And there you there you also have a contract that is yours. And basically an NFT in that case is nothing else than this contract in the blockchain, and everybody can see it. So, and that way you can sell the artwork and stuff like that. But the other ones, I still don't really grasp. You have the right to own the first tweet of the guy of Twitter, but not really, or something. Yep. What do you own? What did I buy? That's basically.
That's the whole thing. Again, I'm working with an art gallery at the moment where we're going to be launching an auction of traditional art, but there are going to be NFTs connected with them as well.
Yeah.
So it's effectively it's a very nice way of having a digital certificate of ownership.
Exactly.
Authenticity. Yeah. So for that market, it's really interesting. But even with that, trying to work out how do you maintain a connection between the physical piece of art and the NFT, when the best you can do with the NFT is it's a token that points to an image of what the art is, and how do you keep them in sync, and how do you make sure they don't go offline, and there it is a real challenge. So it comes back to what we were saying before. I think anything where the NFT gives you something unique, like it gives you private access to something. So there was an NFT a few days ago that was launched, which was of a 1-hour video, I think it was. And again, that came on a USB stick in a lovely box, and it was all branded and that kind of thing. So there you're actually buying something physical
Yeah, so the whole
which
NFT part is not really useful. But how I can see it is, for example, within games, right?
Yeah.
Really, the digital. If you remember I forgot the name of the game, but the most expensive thing ever sold before NFTs was in a game. I think 1 point something million for what was the game? It was not World of Warcraft, but there is also some crazy prices being paid in virtual money in gold. Nowadays, of course, Blizzard also has a way that you can buy gold. They don't like it, but all of a sudden, somehow it is possible because you buy game time, and then now I can trade game time. This is the same basically as a crypto token. Yeah, their game time is used as a token, like we see with mobile operators, where in some African countries you can buy your piece of bread and stuff with coal minutes. But there I see the use of NFTs that, okay, this is really mine and nobody can steal it, hack it, God knows what.
Well, I think this is where, again, the NFTs are replicating what's happened already. So in some games, for example, if you get Minecraft or Roblox or any of these games where you can buy outfits for your characters, and the outfits might be designer outfits, and computer games designers design these outfits and these haircuts, and they make unique things, and you can buy them, you can sell them, you can trade them. So that market's kind of existed already for a while.
Yeah.
Introducing NFTs just exposes them to a different way of doing it and a wider market. But yeah, this is where the likes of Fat F and FinCEN and all these people who are looking at anti-money laundering and all this kind of thing, they must be having kittens right now, because there's all these new ways of exchanging value and layering, laundering, whatever, through these things that has been relatively small scale up till now. But as you say, there are some games now where you can buy virtual real estate. So effectively you buy a plot of virtual land inside a computer game.
I was just thinking about what you said, triggered me. I don't know how long ago it was, but I bet surely 10 years ago. Don't know if you remember it. There was this game called Second Life, which turned a hype for I think 1 or 2 years.
With Linden dollars. I think
exactly. Yeah, Linden dollars. Exactly. I maybe I still own something actually, because I was playing it as well. But this would be awesome for there. Right, an NFT, exactly what you said, designer clothing for there. You could buy clothing there. I don't know why people did it, but that really was quite expensive, where you really paid like $100 or $200 for a digital outfit, and everybody could have owned it. Now, with combining that with NFT, that would be, of course, it would be even more valuable.
Yeah,
but isn't that kind of the idea behind Engine Coin? Engine Coin, which is a game-based coin where you can actually mint your coins, you can melt them down, you can buy things within the gameplay, and worst case scenario, you can sell your coins back and get like a quarter of the value or something like that. So it's quite an interesting use case. It went through quite a rocket moment like a month or so ago when it gained some popularity, and it's kind of the first game-based token that was launched in Japan. It went on the Japanese public exchange, so that's quite interesting.
And that's probably the other thing as well. We need to be watching out what's going on elsewhere around the planet. So Asia in particular, I'm a member of a couple of Chinese groups, which fortunately they're using English as the language of conversation, and they're running NFT conferences and crypto conferences in Shenzhen. And someone sent me a video of one of the conferences the other day. It's like loads and loads of people. It's like, what sort of conference was this? Oh, it's just a crypto conference. We have these things type thing. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on elsewhere that it could suddenly appear overnight. It's like you see with Engine. That's one example. But there was also, I'm trying to remember who it was in South Korea, launched a blockchain which was all hooked into stuff, and that absolutely exploded for a while as well, and no one had even heard of it. type thing. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Hussein, are you watching what's going on around the world, or are you sticking to what's going on in the UK at the moment?
No, absolutely. I'm fascinated by the frontier markets because, as we were talking about, I think, you know, when states start devaluating their currencies and ripping off their citizens, it's actually in those states that you see adoption of cryptocurrencies. So I think Nigeria, Bangladesh, and India are interesting. Turkey's recent announcements around its tightening. I don't know the details about that. I only just read the headlines. But I think
I do, because I read the press release.
Can you briefly elaborate what Turkey's up to?
What it effectively says that you can't use crypto assets for payments. That's all.
Okay.
Nothing much more. It was I think it was a one-page release that they put out, and it basically said you can't use crypto assets for payments. So that doesn't mean that they've made cryptocurrency illegal. It means they're just trying to cut back on using it as a form of e-money.
Yeah.
So not as bad as it sounds compared to, you mentioned India, where they keep switching between what RBI or SBI says and what the Supreme Court announces and all this kind of stuff. But they've still not quite decided yet, from what I remember, as to where they're going with crypto. The last statement, I think, was that they were considering making non-state-backed cryptocurrency illegal, which was kind of interesting, because does that mean that they're considering a state-backed cryptocurrency?
Yeah. Well, that's how a lot of people will hear this, because I think a lot of people only want to hear the optimistic side. So they will go like, hey, there is a state-backed coming. So, hey, if you can turn this story exactly this direction, hey, India is going to accept crypto.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of people in the end effect will only, especially the small time investors or the younger people, that I put it this way, this is all they will hear, because it will be a 5-word sentence that they see on Instagram. Right.
I think the other thing as well, it depends upon the regulatory approach. I kind of describe it, and I know this is an oversimplification, that in America, you can only do something providing there is a rule allowing you to do it. Whereas in India, you can do anything as long as there isn't a rule preventing it.
True.
Yeah, and this is the whole thing about what is legal. And anything's legal as long as it's not illegal, type of thing.
Yeah, correct.
Which is far more in tune with, you know, English common law, right? It's the Americans seem to have gone awry with that one. I definitely think, you know, you should be allowed to do something until it's decided that you shouldn't be allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is a tricky one, but yeah.
And that's where you go back to the origins of, like, English common law in particular, which in essence was, you can do anything you like as long as it doesn't cause harm,
exactly,
or threat of harm to others. No, that's a great starting point.
I think that this is a very important thing, I think also, yeah. And I see, as you just said, there is only 20% winners, and these winners are really winning on the back of a lot of losers. And unfortunately, most of these people that lose are also people that, well, not really can actually take to lose, or now not we're not, well, smart enough is the wrong word, but I don't know, for lack of a better word, that did invest more that they could lose.
Yeah. Well, that's where it comes back. You quite often hear the term sophisticated investor, and that's what regulators tend to use that term. But sophisticated investor typically means that they've got a net worth above a certain amount.
Sure. And
also that they don't invest more than a particular percentage of their portfolio, or they don't invest. But my argument is actually, so why don't you apply that to everybody, that as long as you don't put more than 5% of your total assets into something highly risky, then why not allow people to do things highly risky?
See, I agree on that, 100%. Yeah. And remove the, hey, you have to have a minimum amount of assets, just, hey, there is a max on what you can spend.
Yep.
Right, and I mean, over here at least, it's the same for housing and stuff. I can only mortgage up to a certain amount, right, on what I can pay. They check your whole assets for, hey, are you actually able to spend that amount of money? So yeah, I think that would be a wise thing. And this is exactly also the reason why a lot of people go against the government. Like, yeah, they are trying, the rich can only get richer and I'm not allowed to because I don't reach that minimum limit.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. I think that's a good point. I just want to pop back to Mark again. You were talking about Doge earlier on, because that's gone through some phenomenal changes of late. Do you think that's anything other than Elon just tweeting about it sometimes?
Well, it got launched on Coinbase recently, something like that. But there's also, I read an article about the types of holders that are holding Doge. They are not the typical traders who are really going on market sentiment and things like that. They are just holding it and waiting for it to hit the moon type of thing. They've got a very different approach as opposed to the traditional holders.
Because did I see a transaction go through today, which is like $1 billion in Doge?
Something like that, yeah, which still kept the pump of like, I don't know, 5% for today.
Yeah. So it shows the power of crypto, that you can have a transaction like that, but also that you can see there's a transaction like that. At least that contributes to the whole transparency of everything, which is quite encouraging.
Sure.
So, cool. Anyone got any other thoughts? What's been happening this week, or any news? Anything they'd like to share? Everyone's staying quiet.
I'll share one thing. This was anticipated, right? This fallback. We were in a massive bull market. I think a lot of the analysts that I was following fully anticipated this, and it's one of the criteria for heralding in alt season, as far as this particular narrative goes. So I was just wondering what people's thoughts are now. Are we now going to enter alt season since Bitcoin has seen a large correction, and will, the narrative is from here it breaks to a new all-time high, proceeds to collapse, and alt season kicks in? That's the narrative that I've been studying the most. Just like everyone's thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've certainly got a thing. I'll throw in straight away that analysts are very good at saying I was right in my prediction, but they'll only say it when they were right. So I kind of wonder at times if analysts just throw out three tweets a week or something, and one tweet says we're going to the moon, one says we're going to collapse, and one says we're going to stabilize. Then a week later, they just refer back to whichever tweet was the one. And I know that's a cynical view, but it's why I've always said in this crypto group, only listen to people who've got their own yachts, their own aeroplane, their own private island as a result from crypto in some way. Because in a bull market, everyone can do well. And I think that's been the worrying thing. I think there are going to be a few people get burned because while the prices are going up, you can't go wrong. And you think, oh, wow, this is so easy. I'll go and get some more money. I'll put it in, and yeah, it's still gone up. I'll put some more money in. And that's where suddenly they're taking out loans and this kind of thing. And then it drops by 20, 30%. And you get the old, oh, please help me because I've sold my wife type thing. And you go through these phases. So I've seen this happen before. So I'm not entirely convinced. If someone is able to regularly display their predictions in advance of things happening, then I'll start to listen to them. But it's like these chartists. People are very good at showing how charts represent something after the things happen.
And because then you can even decide how you want to make a chart.
Yeah.
Right. Don't forget that also, because then even you can still go both ways. Because what I learned in the past, normally when a big crash hits, on average, the alts also didn't shoot through the roof, to be honest. Everything always went down. And I wanted to come back to the dogecoin, what you said before. Even 3 years ago, when I was playing with crypto, when Bitcoin went down, somehow like they saw Doge as a safe haven for the real purists that didn't want to go back to USD because they really hated USD. they went to Doge. When back in the days when it was well 0.24 or 0.00024 Satoshi or something like that, in the time that Bitcoin was 2000. Then you also saw when Bitcoin went down, Doge went up, and then when Bitcoin went back up, Doge went back down. So you really saw the movement from left to right. It was like they're maybe exactly because of what Georgina said. It's like no bullshit coin. They say, look, this is what we are. We're nothing else. We're nothing fancy. We're nothing special. We are the safe haven before USDT, or now I don't know how many stable coins there are, to be honest, anymore. I think 5 or 6. You have your BUSD and DUSD and all the different USDs. That maybe people still go to Doge because of that. And of course, Elon Musk did help. I mean, he posted one tweet and the thing went up 200% or 300%. I mean, this is what I think is scary. And this is also what I mean with the big whales behind Bitcoin or in the market itself. I mean, Elon Musk does it publicly. He only one post, right? One tweet. That's 160 characters.
Yep.
And a coin goes up to, I don't know how many million in value. That's a bit disturbing.
Well, I think coming back to Hussein's point, the thing I am noticing is that there is an increasing absence of correlation between crypto coins now, which is good. Originally it was, Bitcoin goes up, everything else follows it. Bitcoin goes down, everything else follows it. There is an increasing decorrelation now where, just because part of the market goes up, not all the market goes up. And just because Bitcoin collapses doesn't necessarily mean that everything else collapses. As to whether it's like another alt winter or crypto winter, as people talk about, I think we're past that now.
Yeah, I hope, but
the reality is that I saw it last time when they were talking about crypto winter in 2018, 2019, all because people are seeing crypto prices dropping in Europe and North America and there. In South America, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia and there, we're all really getting into crypto. So it was quite a healthy market there. I think Andreas Antonopoulos was out there and he said, look, the rest of the world's talking about crypto winter, whereas it's summertime here.
True, but the normal economies were in a winter, right? Don't forget they had to switch somewhere. If you look now, Venezuela, that's like, no offense to anybody, but it's almost like World War II Germany, or just before World War II with the inflations and stuff. They have to put it somewhere, right? So I mean, and that is also, there's so many things affecting crypto, and this is also with the market cap being 2 trillion, which is a whole lot of money if you have it. But on a global scale, it's not a lot. It's really too easy to influence still. And power to the people is one of the things that is really being screamed everywhere. Hey, my $5 can actually make a difference, or my $500.
So it's probably a good thing we've only got a couple of minutes left. Just picking up on Hussein's point, does anyone else have any thoughts? Are we about to see a big collapse or a consolidation? Mark, you watch the space quite actively at the moment. What do you have any thoughts?
I don't think it's going to collapse anytime soon, but nonetheless, when it is rising, of course, you should be wary when it could happen at any time. But I think there's still time to go, but always be sensible, and still take some profits when you can.
Do your own research, right?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everybody has to mention that.
If you lose money, it becomes your own problem, not anyone else's.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point. Chris, you're a bit fresher in this space. What's your thinking? Are you just sitting back and watching what's happening at the moment?
I'm fairly confident that crypto is becoming more and more established, and I'm in it to hold it and see what happens in turn.
Yeah, I think that's one. Georgina, I know you're an advocate of long term.
Yeah, I think that there's with some coins, I think there's going to be a fair amount of bouncing around. But there are going to be ones that are just, when you look at the different patterns that some of them are displaying now after this crash in the last 12 hours, they haven't really been affected. They've just continued on the trajectory that they were on before. And I think that it's it's a consolidation time rather than it's a healthy correction, regardless of whether it was, you know, caused by a power outage or people selling, you know, long-term investments and liquidating them, or a combination of all of those things. I think it is a healthy consolidation, but my feeling is it's going to continue to climb.
I think I might do an NFT, which is of a butterfly flapping its wings in the Amazon. And every time there's one of these price corrections and someone says, what caused this correction? I'll sell another NFT. No, here it is. This is what led to it. So that's good. All right. Well, there's some useful thoughts, and it sounds consistent opinion though, as well as saying. So I'm going to close off now and thank everyone for coming along today. Thanks to the contributions and everything. Hope it was of interest. For those who didn't get to watch it because they're live, we are recording this, so you can watch again sometime. And hopefully see some or all of you next week. So be safe. Go wash your hands.
Thanks a lot, Gary.
Thanks very much.
Gary.
Bye now.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.